Hello, my dears. Happy New Year. I know that it's kind of late probably to say that now because January is already on its way out the door, but Happy New Year. It feels so weird to be back in front of a camera again because it's been so long. I feel rusty. I have no idea what's going on, but it seems like British OnlyFans girls are going viral for all the wrong reasons all over social media and mainstream media. Not too long ago, Lily Phillips went viral for sleeping with 101 men in 24 hours, and the documentary that was released following that stunt kind of catapulted her into worldwide eyes. She was just everywhere because people were just thinking, what on earth? Why would someone want to do this? And Bonnie Blue is another British OnlyFans content creator who is also all over the news right now and has kind of been consistently in the news for a while, because I didn't really know much about Bonnie Blue, but I knew her name. You just see people talking about her or making videos about her, but at the time I didn't know who she was, so I didn't really care. After discovering Lily Phillips, I then discovered Bonnie Blue, and now I understand why so many people make videos about her, because she says some very outlandish stuff to get attention. She's very rage baity.
Okay, so it's no secret I've been having a lot of fun with barely legal 18-year-olds. And now it's time for the dads and the husbands. So men, I'm going to be at the Nottingham Forest game on the 14th of December. Come and say hi and I'll take you straight to my room after the game.
And recently she was also in the news because she went into Five Guys and asked if she could literally have 5 guys. And the guy who was working there actually rejected her in the most wholesome way.
I just wondered, I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the 5 guys from? The 5 guys. I didn't know if it was like a special room or you can take me out back.
No, I don't think that's happening.
What about after your shift? I'd want to give you, a good rating.
I'm a Christian man and I'm saving myself to marriage.
I'm asking for what's on the menu, that's all.
Genuinely, I feel like I'm doing it right now. I can hand you a menu if you want.
Are you on it?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's a shame.
Service workers really get it all, don't they? They can't seem to catch a break. Whether it's the really obnoxious pranksters or now Bonnie Blue making inappropriate sexual advances at them at their job. That apparently now comes with the job description of service workers. Now, after Lily Phillips went viral for breaking down after sleeping with 101 men, she then announced that she was going to take it to the next level and sleep with 1,000 men in 24 hours.
I'm trying to be the first person to be with 1,000 guys in 24 hours. Now, this isn't an easy task, finding 1,000 people. So, women, if you can lend me your husbands for the day, that would be amazing.
No one understands why she wanted to do this, considering 101 men clearly damaged her emotionally. I mean, she broke down and she said she had to disassociate. So I can only assume that despite how much she claims to have loved it, she quite clearly didn't love it that much. As far as I'm aware, disassociating is a trauma response, so I don't really know what fun she was having, but it doesn't matter now anyway, does it? Because Bonnie Blue beat her to it. Yes, Bonnie Blue recently went viral again because she claims that she's already beat the record and she managed to beat it in 12 hours. She claims that she slept with something like 1,057 men in a 12-hour period.
The big 1,000 was completely done. So it started off, I'll give you a bit of an overview. Bangs after bangs to start with. It was just the room was absolutely full. Then we did groups of 5, one after the other of 5s. I wanted to give people more time, so then it went down to one-on-ones, didn't it? So one person would watch whilst I was with somebody, and then it would literally just be a rotating circle like that.
Lily Phillips must be punching the air right now because she's been talking about wanting to beat this record for on every single podcast she talks about it. She's been talking about it all over social media. She's been saying on every single podcast that she wants to beat this record. She spoke about how she collaborated with other companies within the adult industry to help her organize the event. She had a date set for February and everything, and then Bonnie Blue just moves silently and just grabs it. Now, Bonnie Blue is a fascinating character. I actually find her quite interesting because she's done something that I've never seen adult film stars do before. She's managed to penetrate, pun intended, mainstream media. She was interviewed on a very, very popular breakfast TV show here in Britain called This Morning. She's also been covered by mainstream media outlets. It's just interesting to me because I've never seen that happen before. Never ever did I think I would see the day where an adult actress was sitting on the sofa of this morning talking about her work. And I do wonder, like, is this the OnlyFans effect? Because I find that OF girls are more likely to be interviewed by mainstream media and these like outlets. Like, we see them talking, like the girl Elle, I made a video about a very, very long time ago. Like, she was talking to Piers Morgan about her line of work. Stuff like that would have never really happened before. And I do wonder if it's because people kind of view OF as almost like just a different genre of influencing. So it's kind of as if they're just influencers, but this is just their niche. They're in a different type of niche, kind of like how someone might do commentary or do lifestyle. Like, that's just like a different genre within the influencing space. Or could it be that because mainstream media is trying really hard to compete with social media, they're picking up stories that are trending on social media, and because this is the kind of stuff that people are talking about on social media, they're just picking it up? It probably is the latter, to be fair, but I do also think that there is a difference in how we talk about OF girls compared to other types of sex workers, and it does often feel like there's just a different genre within the influencing space. Probably one of the reasons for that is because those two worlds do overlap. Like, you do get girls who post on their creators on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, and they also have an OF page. And also the fact that there are celebrities who also have OF accounts and post on there, that probably also helps to destigmatize it as well. Yeah, I don't know. The way we treat and talk about OF is just different, and I would love to figure out what exactly it is about it that makes us treat it differently. It's definitely stigmatized, but it's nowhere near as stigmatized as the other forms of sex work, which is why I think it's becoming so much more common now for people to get into it. We see so many people who you would typically never see entering this line of work going into it. Before OF, sex work was something that people typically associated with troubled women who probably very likely come from low socioeconomic status backgrounds, may or may not have some form of like addiction problem or something. You know, it was always seen as something that women do in desperate times. Whereas OnlyFans has kind of changed that, because now we're seeing people who, like celebrities, for example. Celebrities are hardly struggling for money, yet you see some of them creating OnlyFans accounts just to make more money because they know they can. And then you also see like people coming from middle class backgrounds, like Lily Phillips. Based on how they talk, it seems like their parents were actually pretty well off. They don't really have to be doing this, they're just choosing to do it. And so it is quite interesting to watch how OF has kind of turned sex work into no longer being something that people do out of desperation per se, but it's more so something people are doing as an alternative career. I mean, even the way they talk about it. This is Lily Phillips describing how she feels about what she does for work.
You were doing so well. Even just doing your solo stuff, weren't you?
Thank you.
You were doing amazing. So what is it? Is it purely because you enjoy it?
Oh my
God.
God.
Or are you just getting like, or do you feel like you sometimes feel yourself just getting carried away?
I felt like I found my calling when I was like doing that 23 guy. Like, it sounds so stupid. Like, I was like, I found my passion.
Really?
Like, in life, this is what I'm here for. Like, this is why God put me on this earth. Like, it sounds insane.
It does.
They don't fit the typical stereotype of what people think of when they think of a sex worker and why they'd get into it. And some of them are like millionaires now. Like Bonnie Blue claims that she makes something like £650,000 a month. Or dollars, I don't know if it's dollars or whatever, but she's a millionaire regardless. Now, I have seen a lot of people doubt that Bonnie Blue even actually broke this record. Like, some people just aren't convinced. I get it. Like, I get why people would doubt her, but there was an interview I saw with a guy who actually turned up to the event, and this is what he had to say. It was the most surreal experience of my life. I was just amazed about what was going on. I had been told it was a one-to-one session, so I assumed you'd get into a room with her one at a time, but when I got there, it was a free-for-all. There were around 30 or 40 guys around her at any one time. There were so many guys there, and I'm quite shy. I've never been involved in anything like that, so I didn't get involved. Side note, I found this article so shady. They include a lot of information about this guy that isn't necessary for us to know, but definitely paints a picture. For example, when they call him a jobless security guard who begged for an invite to join more than 1,000 men. Or when they say, in the run-up to the stunt, Ali doesn't have a girlfriend. I mean, I bloody hope he doesn't have a girlfriend if he's doing something like this. Or what about the part where they have to mention that he's a 42-year-old who still lives with his parents? It was funny, I can't lie. This article was so damn shady. Based on what he describes, it sounds like she probably did actually do this. If she was seeing like 40 guys at a time, just like constant like rounds of 40, then it's very possible that she could have done this. But anyway, the reason why I wanted to talk about this story is because I have a question. Is this what a sex positive world would look like, or a sex positive culture? We see feminists preaching sex positivity, and what they mean by that is just basically a free-for-all society where all kinds of sex is permitted, provided it's with consenting adults, right? So in a sex positive world, this is completely fine. There is nothing immoral about this. There is nothing wrong with this. We have a consenting woman and consenting men. That's all that matters, right? It kind of makes me wonder, like, you know, if this is the kind of society that kind of outlook would create, then can we really preach it as being like a positive thing? Not that I ever really thought it was a positive thing anyway. It's just all this is doing for me personally is confirming that it's not a positive thing. But for the people who are quote unquote sex positive, whatever that means, because I really hate that term sex positive, because it kind of implies that if you're not of the opinion that you should just shag everyone who crosses your eyesight, then you are sex negative. Sex positive is always usually something you hear when people are trying to advocate for things like sex work or advocate for casual sex and all that kind of stuff. And it's just annoying, because it's like, okay, so if I don't want to do those things, then I'm sex negative. Like, no, I'm pretty sure you can have a very positive outlook and attitude towards sex without necessarily thinking it should be like that. If sex positivity preaches the idea that sex should just be a leisure activity, something that, you know, you don't need to know each other to do, you don't really need to have any like relationship or connection or whatever to engage in it. You can queue outside, you know, for hours in the cold and the rain, like most of these men probably did, because let's be honest, it is England. So they would have had to wait outside for hours in very unpleasant weather, which just, again, can't wrap my head around the level of determination some men have for sex. It's crazy. If we were to make sex just a casual leisure activity, no, it doesn't have to have any meaning or whatever, stuff like this will be completely like acceptable and completely fine. Like something that we don't even bat an eye to, because this kind of fits within that whole sex positive framework. One thing that the Bonnie Blue and the Lily Phillips situation has proven to me, though, is that this whole idea that the only reason why women are sexualized or sexual in this way is because of the patriarchy or because of men doesn't really make any sense anymore. Like, yeah, granted, men are the ones who predominantly purchase sex or purchase sexual content, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense to necessarily like blame them for the actions of these girls, especially like when you see, because there are some feminists who are trying to actually do that. Like I saw Julie Bindel, when Lily Phillips' story was the one that everyone was talking about, I saw her trying to argue that, you know, we shouldn't be shaming her necessarily for taking part in this, but we should be shaming the men who queued up. I don't think there's anything wrong with criticizing the men who took part in this, because like, what are you doing, my friend? Like, what's going on? But at the same time, I also think it makes sense to criticize, or it makes sense for us to be allowed to criticize the girls as well, because they're voluntarily doing it. If a drug dealer was out here selling drugs, we wouldn't say, oh, the drug dealer's the victim. You know, it's those drug addicts and those drug users. They're the ones that we should be judging and shaming, because they're exploiting the drug dealer. You know, that poor drug dealer. He only sells because of the culture. Like, we would never do that. We would never ever say that. But yeah, when it comes to sex work, the sellers of sex are the victims and the buyers are the perpetrators. And I get it in the case of people being trafficked, but in the case of OF and stuff like that, a lot of these girls are not being exploited by anyone. They are choosing to put themselves in these situations. They are choosing to do this kind of stuff, and they are their bosses. They are their own bosses, and yet they still choose to do it. So to use the whole patriarchy or men as to blame doesn't make sense. And yes, their customers might be male, but they still are the ones who've chosen to put themselves on these platforms and have chosen to be the ones to take it the extra mile in the case of like Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue, and sleep with like an excessive amount of men in a very short period of time. No one is making them do this. And funnily enough, ironically, Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips would also probably reject this idea that Julie Bindel is trying to push. I think a more accurate analysis of this would probably be that female youth and beauty is extremely valuable. And I think nothing teaches us that more than the sex industry. The sex industry is the one where we really see just how valuable female youth and beauty is. And both men and women are guilty of choosing the shortest, quickest, and easiest route to financial success. OnlyFans is today's get-rich-quick scheme for young, attractive girls. Granted, the vast majority of them aren't going to make a lot of money, but the ones who do can make a crazy amount of money. And so a lot of girls are willing to take the chance and see if they can be in that top percentage of girls who make an insane amount of money. This is something that they're seeing often promoted by other OF girls, and so they're going ahead and they're doing it. And so I don't think it's like, oh, the patriarchy. I think it's more, a lot of young women are realizing just how valuable their beauty is. And this is something that they can get themselves into. There's no gatekeeper. They can just put themselves on the platform by posting and potentially become super rich. I also think the whole feminist idea that we should be blaming the men and holding the women up as victims, I think the problem with that is it's quite a patronizing take. It's quite a patronizing take because it talks about them almost as in the same way we would talk about a child. You know, when we look at kids, we say, you are not responsible for your actions because you're too young to comprehend the consequences of what you're doing right now, which is why your parent has to be responsible for not only themselves, but also for you. And so if we say that these OnlyFans girls are victims of the men who queue up to sleep with them, even though they're the ones who fully orchestrate and organize these events, then we are essentially putting the men on a higher level of consciousness than the women, because we're saying like, oh, you can understand what you're doing, which is why you have to be responsible for yourself and for her as well. And it just doesn't make any sense. It is really patronizing. And I don't know why we have this habit of like not being able to advocate for certain groups of people without simultaneously treating them like children. There does seem to be a pattern when people try to advocate for a group of people, they can't help but also infantilize them at the same time. And I just think it's just ridiculous. I don't think there's anything wrong at all with criticizing these men at all. So don't get it twisted. Criticize them as much as you want, because I think there's room for criticism. Where I personally draw the line is when we then start saying that, you know, these men are also responsible for her actions as well as their own actions. I think everyone's responsible for themselves, okay? Can we live in a society where we're all responsible for our own behavior? Yes, thank you very much. But anyways, that's my take, I guess, on this situation. I would like to know what you think about all this. Do you think that this is what the meaning of sex positivity or a sex positive society would look like? Or do you disagree? Do you think that these are just extreme anomalies and the reality of it wouldn't look like this? Either way, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, I'm very interested to know what your thoughts are on all of this, and if you think it is a sign of changing times. You know, the fact that we're now seeing these girls in mainstream media, on breakfast TV shows. I do want to know what you think about all of this and what your opinions are. So do let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this video, you may as well like and subscribe. Thank you so much for giving me your time today, and I will see you in my next video.